Welcome to Municipal Affairs. Last week, the capital city of Victoria played host to one of the most important gatherings in the municipal calendar in the province of BC, the 2025 Union of BC Municipalities Convention. From September 22nd to 26th, the Victoria Conference Centre became the meeting ground for mayors, councillors, directors, senior staff, First Nation representatives, provincial agencies, and partners from across the province. The UBCM Convention is more than a series of speeches and workshops, though. It is where the future of BC municipalities is debated, shaped, and in many cases, decided. And this year, the conversations were as pressing as they were complex. So what did we do? Well, Municipal Affairs was there in person, on the ground, in the hallways, and we set up to discuss the issues that matter directly to delegates. Here are those interviews.
Mayor Ireland, thank you so much for chatting with me here on day 4, but technically day 2 of the official ceremonies of UBCM. What brings the district of Lake County to beautiful Victoria for UBCM this year?
And Victoria's beautiful, but it's Lake Country.
Lake Country, District of Lake
We don't have counties in BC. Maybe we
I-
have it someplace else. I don't know
didn't
for
see
sure.
the R. I was like,
It's okay. It's all good.
okay, let's
it's
try
all
it
good.
again.
Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah.
What brings Lake Country to beautiful Victoria for UBCM?
Look, it's our chance to come forward and talk to the province on many levels. You know, right this year, we're looking at a lot of policy things that we need change in. So, you know, this is the opportunity to get in front of ministers, but it's also the opportunity to talk to our peers and see what people are doing and really get a feel for what's going out there in the rest of the world.
What's the one tangible item that you are hoping to hear the premier, a minister say at this year's convention that you can take back to Lake Country and say, okay, we've got some good positive news that we can move forward on?
Something positive.
Very macroized that whole question there for me there.
That would be the most important thing right now. You know, there's a lot of negativity, and rightfully so. It's very difficult out there right now, but we have to find hope somehow. And we can't just stop and say, oh no, it's all going to hell. We got to do a better job and we got to have hope. So yeah, positivity, finding those things that we can get done.
Are you feeling that positivity right now? Cautiously positive?
Cautiously. I mean, I try to be that every day.
You do?
Sometimes I don't get there. But yeah, I think we really need it.
My final question, because I know you're busy and we're in between sessions right now, but what is the benefit of the District of Lake Country being part of an organization like UBCM?
Oh, it's incredibly beneficial. You know, as I said before, we come together with all these other municipalities and have all these different efforts and thoughts. And the one thing that's really great about the municipal world is if somebody comes up with a great idea, we share. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of brilliant people all across this province that create some great ideas and ways to get things done in their communities. So that ability to come together and share the information it's incredible.
The best thing I've ever heard about mayors and councillors and reeves and wardens and directors, they steal from the best. And that's the best thing about these events is you steal from the best.
Steal from the best and never reinvent the wheel.
There you go. Blair, pleasure always.
Always great to see you again.
Director, thank you so much for sitting down, chatting with me today. We are here on the opening days of the UBCM Convention. What brings you here and what are you hoping to take away?
So I'm here obviously representing the residents of my electoral area or district. And some of the things they've asked me to come here include, you know, things like interacting with provincial agencies like the BC Assessment Authority, who looks after property assessments, and that's how local governments in British Columbia derive their revenue primarily. And then just taking in different sessions. This morning I'll be participating in an electoral area directors conference, talking about housing challenges in rural unincorporated communities and the networking opportunities. I can talk to ministers or parliamentary secretaries and engage in one-on-one conversations.
What exactly is happening in the Cariboo Regional District? And I'm just going to ask you to step in just a little bit here so I can get your camera. There you go. What exactly is happening in the Cariboo Regional District that you're hoping to take away from this week's convention? The connections are good, but is there an issue that you're advocating for when you speak to the ministers, when you chat with politicians from across British Columbia that you're hoping to get on their radar?
Yeah, so one of the things we're all hoping, not just myself, but a number of my regional district colleagues around, we're having challenges with rural roads. And I know BC is not
Unique in that.
unique in that regard. But we're really trying to get the province to understand that whether you live in a rural unincorporated community or you live in an urban community, access to safe, drivable roads is a common feature for people that want to get up every morning, go to work, that they don't want to have to dodge potholes.
And what do you hope to... The advocacy is great, but what concrete actions are you looking for from the provincial government around rural roads right now? Because that's the big thing that a lot of people might be saying is talk is cheap, action is one thing. So what is the action that you're hoping to see the provincial government do?
Yeah, I'm really hoping they'll give firm language saying we will include this as part of our budgeting process. So here in BC, we're getting about the time of year when the provincial government will start their budget planning for their next fiscal cycle, which starts next spring. So we're hoping to get very firm commitments saying, yes, we will make sure that is included in our budgets.
And do you have any optimism about it, or are you cautiously optimistic about it?
I would say I'm probably cautiously optimistic at this point, but I'm sure they're trying to keep their cards open at this stage until they get into the line-by-line discussions. So we'll just have to wait and see.
So my final question before I let you go, because I know you're in between sessions here, you're about to start going in between sessions. What's your take on what UBCM does for the Cariboo Regional District?
I think they provide very good value in what they do. They have the ability to facilitate different sessions and make sure that regional district concerns, the 27 of us that are a part of the local government structure here in British Columbia, make sure that our voices are being heard, because regional districts are unique. They're not the same as municipalities, and we have very unique challenges, and UBCM provides great value in making that happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Director.
Okay.
Always a pleasure. Nancy, we are here on day 1 technically, as the official ceremonies just took place. What brings you as a City of Kamloops councillor to beautiful Victoria for the UBCM Convention?
Well, it's one of the most important events of the year for local government. Number one is making connections. Number two is learning new things that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Here in Victoria, I mean, we always have ministerial meetings, but it's very special to be doing them in the legislature. And so our city, we have 11 ministerial meetings to try to bring up issues that we've been working on with the provincial government, and sometimes some new ideas as well.
So what are the issues? What are top 3 issues that you think you're talking to the provincial government about this week that are going to hopefully see a little bit of movement when you head back to Kamloops whenever you head back?
Well, I mean, we already have a strong relationship with the province in terms of what's called provincial lands. So they're developing some of their land for housing in the heart of Kamloops. So that's a good conversation. Kamloops is growing, so we are always looking at ways of making sure that young families are looked after. And public safety is an important issue. I don't think it's just our community, but all communities are concerned about that as well.
Are you hearing any positive steps? I know it's still early days. I know there's been some ministers that have been giving preliminary sessions, talking to delegates. Are you hearing anything that gives you hope that when you head back to Kamloops that something will have been heard by your being here this week?
Well, I would say, and I don't know if you sat through it, but we have had updates in terms of the provincial budget. So I think the areas that we've had the most reception are the ones that aren't going to cost them any money. Yeah. So once you start to say, well, we're looking for this and it's going to cost this much money, they're in a fiscal restraint right now. It's harder to get that type of leverage on the ask.
So what's next now as you head back to Kamloops after this long week? What do you hope to bring back to ensure that what happens here doesn't just stay here?
Well, I mean, of course, we have staff with us, which is keeping track of all of the conversations. We'll have a meeting when we get back to to Kamloops. We've got 7 out of 9 of council are here. So we have different perspectives on the meetings that we can bring back. And then we're only a year out from the next municipal elections. So I think it would be really wise to look at what they've said and say, what can we accomplish in the next year? Because the new council may have a different direction, but I think it's important to really go back to what our strategic plan is and see what's possible in the next year.
Awesome. Excellent. Nancy, Councillor, always a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for coming out to BC.
It's beautiful here. Day 2, but technically day 4 of UBCM.
Yeah.
How's it feel to be here with 2,000 delegates from across British Columbia descending upon Victoria?
It always feels great. It can be incredibly overwhelming. So many familiar faces. So many faces you don't necessarily know. So UBCM is really an opportunity to connect with other people who do what you do, who get what you're going through, and who share the same challenges and concerns.
So what are the shared challenges and concerns that you're hearing that reflect that what's happening in Salmon Arm is not just happening in Salmon Arm, but it's happening in Prince George, in Vancouver, in Valemount?
Exactly. I would say, certainly for Salmon Arm, it's a mid-sized community at about 21,000. We have worked hard to implement the new housing legislation so that we can have multi-family rather than single-family. And I'm happy to say that it's working. So we're seeing an uptake in residential apartment buildings and townhome complexes, which is fantastic and critical. However, it also means we need massive upgrades to, hard infrastructure, water, sewer treatment plants, water treatment plants, more RCMP. As our community's grown 20% in the last 10 years, which is not extreme, but maybe faster than predicted. Therefore, those aging infrastructures are aging out faster, and it's becoming more urgent because you can build all the housing you want, but if you can't turn on a tap or flush a toilet, it's not going to work.
So what is the benefit of an organization like that an organization like UBCM in addressing that issue on a provincial-wide scale?
Well, it's really about a collective voice and the cumulative impact we can have to make it clear to our partners, our senior orders of government, that these are issues that we need to deal with so that they can deal with their issues. And we're all connected.
And my final question, what is the benefit for Salmon Arm to be part of an organization like UBCM?
I think Salmon Arm shares many concerns with very small communities. We're very agricultural. We have, environmental concerns, wildfire. We're surrounded by forest. We need to continue to work on fire smarting. But we also share some of the main concerns of larger communities, such as homelessness and a little bit of street disorder, and of course the affordability crisis. And so UBCM gives us a chance to have our feet in both ponds, as it were. And overall, UBCM for me I'm very grateful to be in a world full of people who live what I live through every day. And so it generally go home feeling pretty good about the work that I'm doing and the reason I'm doing it.
Awesome. Councillor, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here.
Councillor, thank you so much for chatting with me. We are here on day 2 of the UBCM. Well, day 1, day 2, depending on when you officially start the count. But what brings the district of MacKenzie and yourself as councillor to beautiful Victoria for this week-long event?
Well, first off, thanks for having me again, Christopher. There's lots of things that bring MacKenzie to an event like UBCM. We have a whole bunch of meetings with provincial leaders, whether they be ministers or leaders of different agencies. There's also a lot of learning going on where we sit in sessions and we're learning about different things that are kind of relevant. I sat in one yesterday on the nature of healthcare and the importance of public libraries. And the other really important thing is networking. So I was able to meet with other kind of like-sized communities that have similar issues and hopefully learn from them.
So what are the issues that you're specifically bringing? Because I know at the larger scale, you have what the district of MacKenzie is bringing, but what are you hoping to take away from these next few days?
Yeah, so specifically for myself, like I've always been passionate about youth issues. So a meeting that I'm really excited about, and I think is going to be really important for us, is I get to meet with the representative of children and youth, which is a provincial ombudsman here in British Columbia, who's responsible for making sure that they basically advocate for youth and care in British Columbia, and then report back to the provincial legislator. So making sure they're aware of what the MacKenzie context is and how much more support our youth need, and how kind of a risky situation that sometimes the ministry puts them in by not having adequate resources in a small rural community like ours. That's specific to me, like that's my passion issue, but there's a whole bunch of other things. Like we just had a meeting.
Can I just pick up on that for a second? Because how does the municipality address that issue? Because child and youth is a municipal issue with the services that you provide, but it's also a very large, complex issue. So what do you hope to take away from this week to make sure that when you go back to the district, you can say, okay, guys, we've started the conversations. This is the municipality's next step.
Like advocacy is our biggest role with that, right? Because you're 100% right. Like children and care, youth issues, education, all that kind of stuff, social services is not really a municipal issue, right? But what our power is, and that's why this week here in Victoria is so important, is that we do have access to the representative of children and youth, and we can have the Minister of Child and Family Development, and really making sure they understand our context. Because MacKenzie is a rural community in northern BC. There's a snowball's chance that they're ever going to actually come to our community and feel what's on the ground. So this is the closest thing we get to that, is we in the community bringing the issues to them. So in terms of like tangible stuff, it's really not about that. It's about that advocacy and making sure they understand. And in terms of like bringing back to the community, it's first and then telling the people in our community who care about these issues, A, we did that, B, this is how you can also support this advocacy too and carrying it on, and hopefully we see action from the province.
Do you feel hopeful that something's happening?
Depends on the issue.
Well, let's continue with the youth issue, right? You got the meeting. Do you feel hopeful that something's going to happen out of this week, or are you under the impression, you're cautiously optimistic that this is a good first step?
I think it's a good first step. Like I know for specifically like talking about the issue of at its crux, it's a lack of social workers in our community. So I think this week is actually starting that conversation with the province to make sure that they understand the dire straits that we are in MacKenzie for needing more child and youth workers and social workers to make sure.
Is there
our
a role
youth
the
are...
municipality can play to attract them? Because we
absolutely.
always talk about attraction and retention of doctors. What can the municipality do?
I think, and it's funny, we had our long form interview like a month ago, right?
Yeah.
But it's making sure we have a really livable community that people love to be in, right? And it attracts things like social workers and doctors, police officers. We're very short on teachers in MacKenzie too, which is adjacently connected to this child and youth issue, right? So making sure that we have awesome amenities like our amazing rec center, making sure that we have a really strong nonprofit sector that supports things like the arts and sports and athletics and all that fancy jazz. Tourism, making sure there's things to do. Like we talked about our mountain bike trails and how proud we are of those, and the lakes and showcasing that. So like the things that we can control as a municipality that makes MacKenzie the best place in the province to live.
What is the benefit for the district of MacKenzie to be part of an organization like UBCM?
Well, there's a whole bunch of benefits, so I'll start there. But I think the thing that we get the most out of being a member is the networking and the connecting with like-minded communities. I'll use a tangible example, so I'm not just speaking theoretically. So we had a meeting this morning with a provincial agency. I won't get into the specifics of the issue, but it was an issue that there's other communities that are kind of in a similar situation. So we leave that meeting, and we were able to find the mayor of that community and say, we just had this meeting. What's your experience with this, right? And they're able to say what's same, what's different. So then we're not just like grasping in the air or trying to grab onto something, right? We have this other community that we can lean on, use them as a case study and a best practice, or even not a best practice, we can help them too, right? But it's that access to like other people's ideas that we just, when you get so, I don't know if myopic's the right word, but sometimes you get so insular in your own community, right? Especially MacKenzie, where we're so insulated.
Well, you get siloed too, right? Because you only talk to the people in your community, and the solutions can be found outside the community as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why, and again, I'm wearing my badge right here because I'm also on the NCLGA board, right? And we've had meetings here, and we're trying to promote cross-northern stuff too. And that's why I always talk to you.
Is the president here?
Miss Astral?
Yeah.
I'll
have to
I had a meeting with her this morning. Yeah. She's very busy today. But yeah,
I can imagine.
I'm sure she's probably busy the whole week too. Everybody is. But yeah, she's here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, always a pleasure to sit down with you, man.
My pleasure. Always.
Mayor, thank you so much for chatting with me today. You are here at UBCM to advocate on a specific issue that is sort of detrimental to the city of Quesnel. Briefly, if you can, in your own words, talk to me about this bridge and why it is so much a vital lifeline for not only Quesnel, but northern British Columbia.
That's exactly right. It's not a Quesnel project, it is a British Columbia project. It is Quesnel City Council's primary objective to get this project done. That is why all 7 of us council members are here, plus our city manager. It is critically important. And what has happened is that the resolution has been taken off of the agenda because it's deemed to be regional. And it might be how the resolution has been titled, because it's titled Quesnel Interconnector Project. Well, it's not the Quesnel Interconnector Project. It is a provincial government project. In fact, the project is the property of the Ministry of Transportation. City of Quesnel and our residences and our businesses and our industries are pushing hard to get that through. The project has been completely designed to the point that you can go online and even do a little helicopter tour.
You can.
Of the project.
I did it last night.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But the funding has been stalled, and I can understand. I mean, the government is under increasing pressure monetarily, but we've got to do whatever we can do to keep this in the queue. This has been a project that has been dear to my heart for over 50 years. That's 50 years. I started working at Quesnel Town Hall when it was a town 53 years ago, and I'm still there. That time was split pretty well in half as an appointed official and now as an elected official. So my main purpose at being at UBCM is to shepherd this resolution through to get it onto the floor. And then once we hopefully can get UBCM's endorsement of this resolution, then we can present it to the minister.
The description of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. 50 years you've been working on this, and this project is still on the books. How do we get this moving faster? Because this infrastructure is aging out. This bridge is aging out. This is a vital corridor for resources, for lumber, for residents who want to go back and forth to the lower mainland, to Quesnel, or even to northern BC. What does the province need to do tomorrow to ensure that this vital piece of infrastructure does not collapse and become a major headache and be more reactive than proactive?
In answer to your question, 2 words: fund it. That's all we need. Like I say, the design work has been done, but turn it into a legitimate project. And as I said, this project has been going on. It was Alec Fraser, when he was the Minister of Highways, and Alec was our former mayor, and I knew Alec very, very well. It was Alec that started that project, that idea of and back then it was called the bypass, and now it's called the interconnector. You can call it whatever it wants. But at the end of the day, it eliminates a total of 7 pedestrian-controlled stoplights through Quesnel. So the interconnector proposal is a non-stop fluid passage through Quesnel with no stops, and so therefore it's a lot safer in terms of.
So for those who are outside of Quesnel, to put it into an analogy, it's basically a ring road around your community that you don't need to go through your community to stop at every stoplight. You can basically bypass and.
Actually, it is even better.
Okay.
Better than a ring road. The bypass runs approximately, maybe half a kilometer away from the existing route. What it does is it follows the railway tracks up from the Quesnel River Bridge and the Quesnel CN rail overpass and connects with the highway at the top end of Front Street. So it's very tight. It's very close to the downtown. And we're going to have a roundabout, and we see that roundabouts are sort of coming into vogue.
Yeah. What is the province telling you of why this hasn't been done? Because after 50 years, I can imagine you've heard every excuse under the bus. But we're in 2025 right now, and I can imagine this project needs to be done 2023, 2020, 2019, 2018. What is the province telling you at UBCM here when you're meeting with ministers that gives you some hope or some indication of where this project sits with them?
To be honest with you, we booked a meeting with the minister on this very subject, and we were denied. And that's not unusual. I mean, the ministerial meetings are backed right up, and we were fortunate enough to have 4 other ministerial meetings that were granted. And at the end of the day, I think it would be better for everyone if we can arrange to have a delegation come to Victoria to meet with the minister specifically on the subject of the interconnector, rather than having a 15-minute speed dating session with the mayor with the minister here at UBCM.
So my final question before I let you go, because I know you're busy and you're about to start the sessions for today. What did you hear from delegates across British Columbia about this project? Because I know you were handing out brochures over the last 24 hours about the resolution, and then they told you that it's a regional resolution and not a UBCM resolution. We'll talk about that in a future episode. But what did you hear from delegates? Are they all in favor of what you're talking about?
Absolutely, and it's not only delegates. It's in our part of the world. It's our residents. It's our business. It's our industries. I can tell you that when this idea and when this proposal was first proposed, the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure rented our senior center to do a public town hall on it, and the facility is licensed to hold 450 people. 900 people showed up. So that gives you an idea of how much enthusiasm there is in this project. It is vitally needed, and the existing highway runs right through residential areas, business areas. It runs in front of our hospital, in front of the seniors care facility, in front of Indigenous apartment facilities. So it's time to get all of that industrial and highway traffic, including dangerous goods, away from that residential area and over to the side against the railway tracks.
Awesome. Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good.
Mayor, thank you so much for chatting with me at UBCM. What brings you and the beautiful community of Sparwood to Victoria to advocate for?
Well, me and my 6 councillors are here to talk to several ministers with regards to healthcare issues, infrastructure issues, and emergency climate issues as well.
So have you had any meetings with any ministers yet?
Yeah, we had 3 meetings yesterday, and they all went as well as could be expected under the times that we have with the climate financially as well. So, yeah.
So what's the takeaway then when you head back to Sparwood tomorrow as you begin to head back? Because I'm assuming you're hoping for something to come out of this convention, or as a former politician yourself, sometimes the federal and provincial government can't promise you everything you want.
Well, certainly what I heard yesterday from the Minister of Finance was that they're in tough times. And we're recognizing that financially. All our asks yesterday were with the caveat, we understand that these are challenging times. And so hopefully we can find a way forward in the next little while and accomplish the small things. And, small things are just as good as the big things as long as these still keep coming.
Challenging times is one thing, though, but reality is another thing. And you're living the reality. While the province is in challenging times, what does Sparwood have to do to ensure that the challenges that it faces doesn't stop? Because if you stop working on the challenges, bad things even could worse happen.
Yeah, we have to work with our community. We have a lot of committee of councils where we listen to the municipality. We're probably fortunate in some ways that with the coal companies that we have, financially, we can do things that a lot of the other rest of the province can't do. But we're challenged in others that I reminded the Minister of Health yesterday in the forgotten corner of the province, that our healthcare issues are challenging because of where we have to go to get to what we need. So we
Because where's the closest? Would be Kelowna. Right?
Kelowna, with no air service.
Really?
Yeah. So Pacific Coastal is about to put a route into Kelowna, but prior to that, there was nothing. So it's very, very challenging for us, and she understands that, but that doesn't make it any easier.
If you don't mind, I'm going to divert from the UBCM for a second. Just ask this: we've seen the ongoing resource trade challenges that we have with the United States as a coal industry community. Have you seen the effects of the ongoing tariff war between the American and Canada and what it's doing to our resource sector?
Not for the steelmaking coal industry, because most of our coal goes overseas.
Yeah.
We have very little that goes to the United States. However, having said that, it does affect the price because we work in the American dollar when it comes to the coal industry. So as it goes, we go. So it has taken a dip. We recognize.
Has it made a big impact on the economy of Sparwood?
No, none
Oh, that's
whatsoever.
good.
In fact, I would say our economy is booming right now. We can't find enough houses, but we've partnered with a developer and then the coal companies where they are building their own housing. So we had land, we found a developer found the coal companies. It was a perfect marriage, and it's worked really well. So a good example is right now we have 15 fourplexes being built, all paid for by the coal industry. And it, in the long run, provides taxation for the municipality, and it's good for the developer because he can keep moving on. So it's worked. It's been a perfect marriage.
What's the gem of Sparwood? Because as we were talking off the record before we started recording, I was there this summer, and it seems to be a tourist hub. It seems to be a place that people want to come to. What makes Sparwood so attractive? Because to have an issue around housing, that means people must want to come to Sparwood. Why is that?
Well, I would say twofold. One is the coal industry. They're screaming for people. So if anyone wants to start at a starting wage at $140,000 a year, come on over. But housing is a challenge. But I will say this. We have a great group that's called the Sparwood Trail Alliance. And they have developed, I don't know how many kilometers of trails for hiking or biking and that. And they're just a phenomenal resource that we've had in our community. And we have people flocking to our community for biking and hiking. And you'd never, when you look at it, you go, oh, where? But it's there, 150 kilometers of it just about. And it's just amazing. So the big green truck doesn't hurt us. But that's basically what it is. There are parts of the province, yeah, they're challenged right now. We are not.
Does it help that, and I kind of throw my own province under the bus here for a second, but with everything going on in Crow's Nest Pass with the coal industry there, Sparwood is kind of becoming the beacon of hope for the coal industry to say, okay, this is how we can do it correctly.
Yeah, we've been established extracting coal since 1903. We've learned from a lot of challenges over the years. The most recent, selenium. The coal industry has put in $1.6 billion toward water treatment. We've watched now as selenium levels are starting to drop. This was inherited by Glencore, previously Teck, and we have a lot of years to catch up from the perspective of trying to capture all that selenium, but we're doing it. And that gives me hope for the steelmaking coal industry because they're doing what they need to do to make sure that their industry is viable for years and years to come.
So we talk about the challenges that you face, and we talk about the sort of aura that Sparwood has about doing relatively good compared to the greater picture. What brings you then to UBCM? Because I can imagine you could just do this advocacy work on your own. Why be part of an organization when you are doing so well? What brings you to here?
Well, we still, need to meet with ministers. We still need to meet. But you know what? It's good to talk to your colleagues from around the province to go, boy, we got it pretty good compared to others, But you also learn that all of your challenges that you do have are not unique to just your municipality. They're unique really to the province, whether it's Nuayanch, whether it's Sparwood, whether it's Vancouver, housing, infrastructure, water, it comes down to the same things all the time. And sometimes we'll have an answer that they've never heard of yet before, and they can try it.
Have you heard of answers that you've heard from other delegates and say, oh, maybe we should try that in Sparwood?
Absolutely. I was just at one this morning, community assemblies, like similar to, I guess, committees of council, but interesting that you can use an assembly to gather information from the public where they're not feeling as, I guess, threatened in that political world. And it's great to hear the people from that perspective. So yeah, you get a lot from this, and I really enjoy it every year that I come.
Mayor Wilks, always a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you
so much. And next time I'm in Sparwood, I'm going to make sure we actually take. Owen, thank you so much for sitting down while chatting with me. We're here on the second day of UBCM Convention here in Victoria. What does Valemount want to hear from provincial, from fellow municipal leaders that you can bring back to your community on Friday?
Well, I think one of the head starts we have is our relationships with First Nations. So we have 2 First Nations with us, supporting us this week through Simp First Nation and Clayton First Nation, both of whom we've signed an MOU of relationship building with. And they're here, their chiefs, their councils are here in Victoria to support us through ministerial meetings, our 15 minutes of fame, and anything that we sort of deem important for not only our municipality, but what's maybe important for them to explore further with, the upper echelon here in Victoria.
So what are those issues? What are those issues that the group review are bringing here to talk about?
So we live at the end of an extension cord called a transmission line. It's 302 kilometers long, and there's a old saying, if a tree falls in Clearwater, does anybody hear it? And yes, the power goes out in Valemount.
Merlin does, right?
Yeah, that's
Merlin's
it. He goes and falls a tree on a transmission line, and all of a sudden we don't have any power. So that we do have some meetings lined up with BC Hydro. We just met with the Public Safety Minister, Solicitor General, around highway enforcement. And, if I'm here in BC, and my guest from Alberta speeds through our catchment area, there is no sort of points or fines. Yeah, fines are given to that driver, but they don't actually have to pay it. Whereas if I do the same thing in Alberta, if I don't pay that fine and I get pulled over a second time, there's a warrant for my arrest. Yeah. And I'm going to be sitting in front of a judge answering the question, why didn't you just pay the fine? There is no ramifications like that here in BC, and we're looking for the public safety.
Is it that big of an issue right now? I know, because you are so close to the border, being with you and Jasper. Is it that big of an issue?
So with the statistics from our detachment commander, 40% of our highway stops are from outside of British Columbia, and 40% of those are speed-related infractions. Some of those are, excess speeds, 30, 35 kilometers over the posted speed limit. Anything higher than 40, then, your vehicle gets a little vacation in our town. It's nice. Nice little fenced yard with barbed wire, and you don't get to speak to your car again for the next 7 days.
Imagine some people are so happy about that. So what? And I ask this knowing I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit. That's not going to be fixed when you leave here on Friday.
Absolutely not. And
so what's a good first step for the village of Valemount?
I think we're off to a good start. Minister of Forests just made a huge announcement this morning at about 12:15 on an absolute reform of the British Columbia Timber Sales Corporation. 54 recommendations coming from their task force. Actually, folks that I personally know on that task force made an absolutely kick-ass recommendations to the forest minister, and at which he accepted. And it's a complete reform of that provincial corporation, giving more social license back to that corporation. So it's not just about logging anymore, not just about harvesting or putting up timber business sales, or even auctions of, and the appraisal system for stumpage here in BC. It's going to be more about what community needs are, sort of a bottom-up approach versus a top-down approach.
Does that work though? Because you and I have chatted about the regionalization approach, and the Victoria solution doesn't work in some other communities. Does that work for a community of your size?
Yeah, I mean, that bottom-up, that community or territory-led initiatives that, through our partnerships with First Nations, through our, our link to other communities, we can decide on what initiatives are important to us, communicate that to BC Timber Sales, and potentially get, blocks that we need for the value-added sector. And so we're not competing with the West Frasers or the Canfors of the world. We're getting the right log at the right price to the right mill, and that's what we need for small town BC.
So you head back on Friday to Valemount, I'm assuming, or potentially Saturday, depending on when you decide to head out.
Yeah, Friday.
What do you take back from this 4-day convention here in Victoria to make sure that the work that is happening here doesn't just sit on a shelf, or the ministers' meetings that you've had don't just fall on deaf ears?
It's follow up, follow up, follow up. Make sure that your staff team, and when I say staff team, it's on both sides of from the province and the municipal or local government. Those relationships are as or more important than the relationships that elected officials grow. Having a a deputy minister or an associate deputy minister, having them on speed dial from a staff perspective is critical to that, again, that relationship building to get those decision points for that follow-up. The other key thing about when you vacate, a convention like this is the 50,000 conversations that you've had with
50,000 plus one now,
plus
right?
one, with like-minded individuals that are here for the right reasons. You get to discuss what works, what don't, and you never want to. So two things you never want to do: pave the way and reinvent the wheel. And the conversations that I'll have over the next couple of days will be just that. What works for you? What didn't? Hey, I heard from Frank that Tim said that Bob went through exactly what we're about to. I should probably go have a conversation with Bob.
So my last question for you, Owen, and it's a big one, but what does UBCM mean to a community of your size? What do you get that you couldn't do by yourself, besides those Tim-Bob conversations?
It is that. The union is exactly that. It brings people together from all corners of the province. It allows those conversations to be had and for those relationships to be built. And when you think of a town like Valemount, the last census said we're 1,052 or 1,056.
No.
We can't.
I was just there this summer, and it was not 1,056. There's much more than that.
Yeah, we usually have about 4,000 or 5,000 people running around, but the census says. So it's got to be right.
Because everything the government says, the federal government around the census is all.
And everybody reports back honestly and faithfully to those questionnaires. What we get out of it is a better understanding of how the bigger machine of the province works. And again, what has worked for other municipalities, other local governments. And it's actually a really good opportunity for my team to grow, to flourish, because we get a better understanding of where our strengths lie, and I personally rely on every one of my team members. So it's a big win for me personally.
Awesome. Owen, always a pleasure.
It's always my privilege, Chris.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we want to take a moment and thank the UBCM for allowing us to attend this year's convention in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. To stay in the loop with all of our episodes from that convention, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform, or if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button now. Your support means the world to us. So share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Municipal Affairs shortly. Till then, everyone.